Today we're going to start element number 4, and element number 4 is quite important as well, but it's not as long as element number 3. So element number 3, we split it over 2 days and we covered it on 2 weekends. So you need to focus a lot on element number 3 because it's quite big, and a lot of questions will come from element number 3. Element number 1 and 2 are shorter, and element number 4 is slightly shorter as well. But element number 3 is the biggest element, so you need to give it due time just to make sure that you cover all the topics. Okay, so element number 4, we're going to discuss about health and safety monitoring and measuring. Now, if you guys remember, we discussed in our very first element, in fact, in the second element, that our HSC management system, health and safety management systems, they are based on the PDCA methodology: plan, do, check, and act. We've covered plan, in which we discussed about organizing for health and safety, setting policies, carrying out risk assessments, setting objectives and targets. All of this is planning. Then we discussed about doing or implementing about health and safety. We discussed about various arrangements that we have to put in place, what resources do we need to have in place, what trainings we need to give to people, the arrangements for carrying out risk assessments and implementing the findings of the risk assessments. We also discussed about emergency arrangements. That is also part of implementation. We discussed about having safe systems of work, permit to work systems. So all of these are part of the implementation phase. Now we are getting into the checking and action phase. In this element number 4, we're going to cover checking and action, C and A. Checking is basically making sure that the objectives and targets that you have put in place and the plans that you have made, are they being implemented in accordance with the agreed arrangements? Okay, or do we need to make any changes in order to make sure that we will achieve our desired outcomes or not? Okay, so checking and monitoring is very, very important. And then once we have checked and monitored what we are doing, we need to take action, either to improve our performance or to make changes so that we can achieve our desired performance. So element number 4, we are going to discuss about health and safety monitoring and measuring. So in this chapter, we're going to cover the common methods and indicators used to monitor the effectiveness of health and safety management systems. So when you plan for something, you need to monitor it and check it whether it is effective or not. If you have a management system which is not effective, then what is the purpose of having a management system? If it is not improving your health and safety performance, it is not giving you the desired outcomes, and it is ineffective, then there is no use in having a management system. So we need to monitor the health and safety management systems to make sure it is effective. We're also going to discuss why and how incidents should be investigated, reported, and recorded. This is a very, very important topic. So we are going to discuss about incident reporting and investigation. We're going to explain what an audit is and why and how they are used to evaluate a management system. Again, this is part of checking and actions. And finally, we're going to explain why and how regular reviews of health and safety performance are needed. So this part is on the action part, okay? So we will review the health and safety management system, and we will review the performance, and we will discuss on how we can improve our health and safety management system and our performance. So these are the learning outcomes of this element. So let's get into it now. Okay, so first element 4.1, first topic is active and reactive monitoring. So as I told you guys, this element will cover checking and action. In the PDCA methodology, we discussed about plan, do, check, and act. Okay, so in this chapter, we're going to cover check and act. So monitoring is basically checking. Now we're going to discuss about the various methods and various techniques of monitoring. Basically, there are two common types of monitoring. There is active monitoring and there is reactive monitoring. Active monitoring is also known as proactive monitoring. Okay, so this basically means that you monitor your health and safety systems, you monitor your health and safety management system before something goes wrong, before an incident takes place. Okay, and reactive monitoring is the monitoring that you carry out after something has gone wrong or after an incident has taken place. So we're going to discuss both of these, active and reactive monitoring. Basically, active monitoring, it looks at control measures to see if they are correct and being used before accidents have been caused. Okay. Then in reactive monitoring, basically, this is a technique in which you use accident and incident and ill health data to highlight the areas of concern. So in active monitoring, you look at implementation, you look at compliance. So you say that you will carry out 5 risk assessments in a month. Okay. In active monitoring, you're actually going to verify whether you actually did 5 risk assessments in the month or not. Okay. And you said that you will carry out 5 inspections per week. You will carry out 1 audit per month. So in active monitoring, we are looking at the control measures and we are making sure that the control measures that we decided, they are in place, they are being implemented or not. And this is the monitoring that we carry out before an accident takes place. In the reactive monitoring, we carry out monitoring after an accident has taken place. For example, by looking at the accident and incident trends, okay, looking at the causes of the accidents, okay, doing trend analysis of the causes of the accident to find out why more accidents are happening and in which area or which category or which activity more accidents are happening. Okay, so we use accident and incident data. We use ill health data. For example, we might be having a lot of people who are suffering backaches. That might indicate that we have a problem with manual handling. Okay, people are getting back injuries or physical sprains and all that. So that will indicate that we might need to give manual handling training to our employees. So this is reactive monitoring. So after a person is being injured, after incidents are happening, or after ill health cases are happening, we are looking at those trends and we are trying to identify what are the areas of concern. So this is called reactive monitoring, the monitoring which is carried out after something has gone wrong or after an accident or ill health has taken place. So all the measures, all the monitoring methods that we use before an accident happens or before something goes wrong, all of this is active monitoring or proactive monitoring. Okay, now basically for active monitoring, we basically measure conformance or non-conformance with standards. Okay, what do we mean by conformance? If there is a certain standard in place and we are following that standard, it means we are conforming with that standard. If we do not follow a requirement or the requirements mentioned in that standard, it means we are not following that standard and we are in non-conformance with those standards. Okay, so for example, work at height specification or work at height standard says that toe boards must be provided at every leading edge and they should be minimum of 6 inches height. So we go to site and we'll verify whether this is happening or not. If the toe boards which we are providing are less than 6 inches height, it means we are in non-conformance with the standards. Okay, if it is 6 inches and above, we can say that we are in conformance with the standard. So this is what we do in active monitoring. Also, for example, the number and quality of risk assessment against the plan. So if we said that we will carry out 4 risk assessments or 5 risk assessments every month, are we actually doing those many risk assessments or not? That is also part of active monitoring. Okay, let's say we developed a training schedule, and we will say we will carry out work at height and incident investigation and a PPE training in 1 month, in this month. Okay, so we will verify, we'll make a schedule, and then we will, at the end of the month, we'll verify whether we carried out the training as per the schedule or not. Okay, so that is also active monitoring. Compliance and conformance. There is a question regarding compliance and conformance. Basically, in layman's term, in general terms, you can say compliance and conformance is correct. Okay, you can, they are similar, they have a similar meaning, and you can use them for compliance, conformance. You can use them alternately. However, compliance word, basically compliance word is used for compliance with legal requirements. So you have to comply with the legal requirements, and you have to conform with the standards. Now there's a slight difference between the standards and the legal requirements. The difference is that the legal requirements, they are mandatory. If you do not follow them, you will be penalized, you will be punished, you will be put in jail. So they are mandatory, you must do them. Okay, so those are legal requirements. That is why you have to comply with the legal requirements. So compliance shows something mandatory which must be done. Okay, so you must comply with the legal requirements. Now when it comes to standards, standards are basically good practice or best practice. Standards, it is not mandatory for you to follow standards, but you follow standards as a good practice. Okay, just to demonstrate that you have a good health and safety management system and you are conforming to the standard. So the term conformance is used with standards. So you have to conform with certain standards, but you have to comply with the law. Compliance is used with legal and mandatory requirements, and conformance is used with the standard requirements of the standards. Okay, so this is a slight difference between conformance and compliance. However, normally you can use the same. There is no deduction of marks if you use conformance instead of compliance. There won't be anything like that, but it is important to understand the difference. Okay, so other active monitoring techniques include consultative meetings. So you carry out meetings with the workers, and you should monitor that you are carrying out those meetings as per the schedule. For example, we have health and safety weekly meetings. So we must have at least 4 meetings per month. So this is something which we monitor as well. Then there are workplace inspections. Workplace inspections, that's another active monitoring technique. And how do we monitor that we are carrying out workplace inspections? We develop an inspection schedule, and we will verify whether we are following that schedule or not. So all of these are examples of active monitoring. Okay, now methodologies of active monitoring. What are the activities which we can do for active monitoring? Number one is safety inspection. Safety inspection is a very, very common active monitoring technique. For example, when you go to a workplace, you need to make sure that the safety standards are good, and the the workers are following the requirements, and there is a good level of conformance. So we need to carry out an inspection. So inspection basically is an examination of the workplace. So you examine the workplace, you look at the workplace, you physically have to carry out a visit of the workplace. You can also have statutory inspections from the legal bodies, legal entities. For example, OSHAD, they might come and visit your workplace and carry out a statutory inspection or a legal inspection. The EAD, the Environmental Agency of Abu Dhabi, they might come and carry out a statutory inspection. The Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Health. So all these legal bodies, all the government bodies, if they come and carry out an inspection, that is called a statutory inspection or a legal inspection. Then there is inspections of plant and machinery as well. So you need to make sure that the equipment and plant you are using, it is in good working condition and it is safe and it is complying with the requirements. So for example, plant and machinery, it should be in good physical condition. There should be no wear and tear. There should be no leakages. Okay, the mirrors must be in good condition. The lights must be in working condition. Reverse alarm must be fitted. Tires must be in good condition. So all of these points, you will verify it in an inspection, in a plant and machinery inspection. And you can do this on various phases. You can have a daily inspection, okay, a pre-use daily inspection, which we usually do for all equipment and vehicles. Every morning, the driver, he has to do a small daily vehicle inspection to make sure that his vehicle is in good condition and it is in conformance with the required standards and with the legal requirements as well. So this is plant and machinery inspection. Then there are inspections that you can do of other plant. For example, the generators that you're using in your workplace, those need to be inspected. The welding plants, the air compressors, other kinds of machinery as well, which you use, forklift trucks, for example, dozers, loaders, all of the machinery, equipment, and plant in the workplace, it must be inspected. So inspections, I told you, there are various types. There are daily inspections, which we can also call them pre-use inspections or pre-use checks, which are carried out before the use of the plant or the machinery or equipment. Okay. Then there are what you call it pre-mobilization inspections. So you carry out an inspection before you mobilize equipment to the workplace or to the project. So before moving, when you buy a new equipment or when you buy any equipment that you are going to mobilize to your project, you need to carry out a pre-mobilization inspection to make sure it is in good condition. And then there are intermediate inspections, regular inspections on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis. So these are various types of inspections that should be carried out. Usually the inspections are done by the line manager or a competent person. The line manager, basically the supervisor of the area or the supervisor looking after the equipment. Okay, so these are safety inspection, and safety inspection is it is a active monitoring methodology. Then we have safety sampling. What do you mean by safety sampling? Safety sampling basically is, it is carried out in a workplace when you're going and visiting a very large or a big workplace. So what happens when you go and visit a large or a big workplace is that you will have 100 pieces of equipment in that workplace. Okay, or you'll have 200 fire extinguishers in that workplace. It's not physically possible for 1 or 2 or 5 people even to carry out an inspection of each and every fire extinguisher or each and every single piece of equipment. It is almost impossible to do that. So usually what we do is we take samples. So we'll take a sample of one fire extinguisher from the office areas. We'll take another sample of the fire extinguisher in the workshop area. We'll take another sample of the fire extinguishers in the construction site. We'll take another fire extinguisher sample from the warehouse. So we take samples and we carry out an inspection on that sample. If that sample is found in compliance, we can say that all the other fire extinguishers are also they are compliant as well. So this is called safety sampling. So we use a representative sample to judge the compliance when it is physically not possible to inspect all the samples or inspect all the items. So instead of inspecting all the items, and in order to save time, we use a representative sample to judge compliance. And it is less time consuming as well. It takes very less time. You can finish it off in very, very short time. So this is another methodology which we use for active monitoring. Then there are safety tours. Safety tours are very high profile walk around inspection in the workplace carried out by a group including senior managers. So safety tours basically are used to raise the profile of health and safety, and it gives a very, very good impression in front of the workers. So you can physically demonstrate that yes, our management is committed and they are carrying out a walk around in inspection. So it gives you a very, very good what you call it impression regarding the management, and it raises the profile of the health and safety in the organization. And the intention is to interact and be highly visible. So in a safety tour, what happens is the senior management, they are present in the safety tours as well, and they talk to the workers. So it gives them a lot of motivation, and it shows the management's commitment as well. Okay, and the management can be highly visible. So it increases their visibility. It increases the impression that to the workers that the management is committed towards health and safety because they are highly visible in that safety tour. Okay, so those were various types of monitoring methodologies. So we're talking about inspections. Now, inspections basically there are of various types. Inspections could be related to the plant, it could be related to the premises, it could be related to people, and it could be related to procedures as well. So there are various types of inspection. You can call them anything that you want, but the plant inspections, they can include inspection of the machinery and inspection of vehicles. Just like I told you guys, there is pre-mobilization inspections, there are daily inspections, there could be monthly inspections or quarterly inspection, depends on how what kind of work you are doing. Okay, so plant includes machinery and vehicles. So safety inspections should include the machinery and vehicle as well. Then there could be inspections related to the premises. So usually there will be a workplace inspection or an environment inspection. In the workplace inspection, you will check that the walkways are not blocked, the emergency exits are available, firefighting facilities are available, fire alarm is available, fire alarm is in good working condition. You will check good housekeeping. You will make sure that there is no rubbish lying around in the workplace. You will check about waste management. So you're making an inspection of the workplace. You will make sure that there is no congestion, the air quality is good, the light is good, the noise is in acceptable limits. So you will make sure that the workplace is comfortable for the workers to work in. And then there is environmental inspection. Environment inspection, you're going to make sure that the temperature, ambient temperature of the workplace, it is within the certain standards. It should not be too hot and it should not be too cold either. You'll make sure that there is a proper ventilation in the workplace and the air is fresh. Okay. You'll also make sure that there is good hygiene in the workplace. In environment, you can also consider noise as well. That is also part of environmental pollution as well. You will check for cleanliness, tidiness, health and hygiene, good air quality. So all of these things you will you will check in an environmental inspection. Then there are inspections related to people. Okay, and these inspection again, they can be inspections related to the working methodology or the working methods that the people are using, or they could be related to the behaviors of the people. In working methods, you can physically go and you can check what the people are actually doing. Okay, so you will go to the workplace and you will see people carrying out the job, and you will make sure that they are carrying out the job as defined in the standard procedures. So you're looking at their working methodology and you are making sure that the work is being carried out as per the standard procedures. Okay, so you're monitoring the people, you're carrying out inspection of the people. Then there are behavioral inspections as well. So behavioral inspections are also very, very important because they focus on the behavior of people. Okay, so basically in a behavior inspection, you check the behavior of the workers, whether they're carrying out any unsafe acts, whether they're complying with the requirements or not, what kind of behavior, are they taking shortcuts? Okay, how are they behaving overall in the workplace? So these are behavioral inspections. Okay, so they can be called behavior-based inspections as well. Then there are very common behavior-based safety programs as well. So behavior-based safety programs, they tend to focus on the behavior of the people to avoid them, to make sure that they avoid taking shortcuts, to make sure that they comply with the health and safety requirements and regulations. So this addresses their behavior. So if we can change the behavior of the people, we can create a positive safety culture, and we can prevent accidents and have a good health and safety performance for the organization. Then we have procedures, procedural inspections. This can include inspection of the safe system of work, or inspection of the permit to work system, or you can call it a permit to work system or safe system of work audit as well. So these are also very important to carry out. Okay, arrangements for active monitoring. What arrangements will you have in place for active monitoring? Now, basically, when you are planning on active monitoring, you need to consider a lot of factors. Okay, so the factors that you will consider when planning for introduction of active monitoring, number one, you will look at the type of monitoring required. Okay, so for example, if there is a lot of noise in your area, okay, or if you have heavy equipment working in the area, definitely it's generating noise. So this will help you decide on what kind of monitoring you need. So you will need noise monitoring over there. So you need to look at the type of monitoring required in the workplace by studying the workplace, by looking at the workplace. Then you need to decide on the frequency. How frequently are you going to carry out the inspections? Now, this frequency, deciding on the frequency, it will also depend on a lot of factors. Okay, for example, if you are working in a high risk area, okay, so if the risk is high, you need to increase the frequency of active monitoring. So you need to monitor things more regularly. But if the if the risk is low, obviously you don't need to put too much focus in that area, and you can reduce the frequency as well. If you have experienced people working, again, you can reduce the frequency. If you have unexperienced workers working, or if you have young people working or vulnerable groups of people working, you will need to increase the frequency to make sure that the things are going in accordance to the plan. So these are some things you need to consider for deciding the frequency of active monitoring. Allocation of responsibilities. Now this is also very important. When you're planning for active monitoring, you need to think about responsibilities. Who is responsible for making the schedule for active monitoring? Who is responsible for giving or assigning responsibilities? What responsibilities will the inspectors have? What is the responsibility of the area authority? What is the responsibility of the supervisors? So this is very important to allocate the responsibilities. Once the inspection is carried out or the active monitoring is carried out, who is going to follow up for the closeout? Who is going to take actions to close it out? So allocation of responsibilities is very important when you are making arrangements for active monitoring. You also need to consider the competence of the inspector. So if you send a civil engineer to carry out active monitoring or inspection of an area related to mechanical works, there will be no, it will not be done properly. So you need to make sure that the inspector that you are sending for active monitoring, he has competencies related to the activity or related to the area which he is going to carry out the inspection for. So you must consider the competence of the inspector. You should also, when you assign an inspector, you should also make sure that he is properly trained. Again, look at SCATE, look at his skills. His skill set must be related to the area. His knowledge must be related to the area or activity which he is going to inspect. Okay, look at the abilities. He must have the ability to carry out inspection in that area or activity. Okay, and he should have experience as well related to that activity. So competence of the inspector is very important. Then you should also consider the use of checklists. Now, the use of checklist is very, very important as well. The use of checklist, basically it has some benefits, but at the same time it has some limitations as well. Okay, so the benefits of using a checklist are it is going to keep you focused, it will keep you on track. Okay, the same checklist will be used for the entire workplace, so it will be uniform. So it's not that I'm going to show favoritism to one guy and do a harsh inspection on him, and on the other area where there is my friend, I will do a lenient inspection. No, we use a checklist, it will be uniform for everyone. Okay, another very important benefit of checklist is it will help you remember everything that you need to check, because if you don't use a checklist, you might forget about a few important points, and those important points could be the ones that cause an accident later on. So you need to make sure that you have a checklist available, and it will help you a lot. Using a checklist has many benefits, but it has some drawbacks as well. What is the drawback of using an inspection checklist? Tick box exercise. So some people, they will sit in their office, they have the checklist, tick, 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 tick. Oh, I saw this yesterday, I saw this today, I saw this last week. Just tick it from where you're sitting, sign it and close. That is a very, very poor and bad way of carrying out a active monitoring. So use of checklist has both its advantages and disadvantages. And finally, once you are finalizing the arrangements for active monitoring, you need to have a system in place for the action planning and for addressing the problems that you have found. So usually what we do is we develop an action tracking register. So we carried out an inspection, we carried out any monitoring technique, any safety tour or walkthrough, whatever you've done, whatever kind of active monitoring technique you use, you will have certain findings. And to address those findings, you'll have to propose certain actions. You'll have to define what actions you will take or what things you will do in order to rectify the situation. Okay, so the actions that you propose, they must be tracked to ensure closeout has been done. How do you track actions? You can use an action tracking register. Very, very simple. You can make it on Excel sheet. Just put the serial number, date, time, originator, action to be taken. Okay, then follow up on target date, responsible person, and closeout status. So this is a simple register that you can maintain for tracking actions. Okay, moving on. Examples of inspection systems. There are many inspection. Yes, somebody has a question. Okay, can everybody hear my voice? There's someone who cannot hear my voice.
Yes, sir, we can hear.
Oh, you can hear. So maybe Suresh is having some issues. Just let me send a message to Suresh. Just 1 second, guys. I think he joined late, but let me just send one message. Just 1 second, guys. Okay. Okay, so examples of inspection system. There are various inspection that you can carry out, but this is a small example of how to develop an inspection system. The case or the situation that we have considered here is a bank head office. So you need to carry out a health and safety inspection for a bank head office. So what is the purpose? First, you need to decide what the purpose of the inspection is. And the purpose here is to monitor the health and safety standards in the bank head office. What is the frequency? So you need to decide on the frequency. The frequency, because it is a bank head office and there aren't a lot of hazards,